Hello,
Well,
everybody. My name is Dawn Campbell. I'm one of the directors at the International Authority for Professional Coaching and Mentoring. And welcome to another masterclass, this time with Amy Schoen. Welcome, Amy.
oh, hi. Thank you.
Very welcome. So we're going to record the call, but we're going to deal with questions as and when they come up. But I just want to introduce Amy to you properly first. Amy is a professional life coach, author, and media celebrity. And her work is in improving people's relationships. She's the creator of Motivation to Marry, Dating Secrets, and she has a coaching program on that basis. I'm wondering, Amy, how many wedding hats you've had to buy, as I know you've helped hundreds of couples sustain a very happy, successful relationship. I'm hoping also we'll persuade you to come back in February when it's Valentine's and specialize in a masterclass on relationships. But today, we're going to take a deep dive into values and why that even matters to us as coaches, but also our clients. So I encourage everyone to get their CPD logs out and take notes. And now I'm going to hand over to Amy, who's going to share who she is, what she does, and how she does it, because I know relationships coaches are a bit thin on the ground. So how do the values relate to what you do, Amy?
Great. Yes, thank you. It's great to be here. You know, as coaches, we are bound to collaborate with one another. And I'll just, come on here, and I guess we'll pin my screen or something. We can do that. Hi. And why do we connect with some people and not others? So relationships impact our whole life, right? It's front and central. And it's who we befriend, who you hang out with, who you hang out in coaching conferences, networking meetings, who you date, who you marry, who you partner with in business, and who you hire. The reason you want to be acutely aware of the values is really, it gives you peace of mind. By having a keen sense of values, you can quickly see if you're aligned with someone, namely if you think and feel in the same way, you're on the same page, or see real differences with this person. And you can really decide how you want to interact with them. So I'd like to use the chat, and I know you're on Facebook Live too, so maybe Dawn, you can kind of keep track of that. I like to, where do you see value showing up in your life? So I'd love to get your input on that. So values, like we said, inform where you work and with whom. And do you have the same vision for your business? Does the person you work with align with your core work and relationship values? So we know that values inform who you work with, who you love, who you hang out with, and how you feel about the people in your life. So it can also inform you how to set appropriate boundaries in toxic people who do show up in your life. So let me give you an example. So I'm a later in life mom. I remember a time when my son was in preschool, and we had this mom's night out, and we were talking about, the things we were doing with our kids. And I did a class that was a music class that we played instruments and sang, and I really enjoyed it. And I said, I'm having so much fun with this music together class. And this one mom just chimed up and she goes, I hate that class, or I hate that. And I'm like, it really took me back. And I'm like, and I didn't know this woman that well, but I just, in that moment, the fact that she could say that in front of all the other moms and be that negative was like, okay, this woman is never going to be my friend. There is no way. But she was part of the moms group, and I'm going to have to interact with her. So how do I want to be with that person? And I decided that I would be cordial, that I would, say hi or whatever, but I wouldn't really go out of my way. And she wasn't kind of the person I wanted to spend time with. And my time's always been precious because I've been working, while I've had my son. So it helps us make all our life's decisions, and whether you're actually aware of that fact. And I know my clients decide who to be in relationship with because of values and who to walk away from. And so how does coaching show up how does value show up in your coaching? If you want to put that in the chat, I'd love to see. So today I'm going to share with you, and if I could let's see if this works. I'm not good with technology. I don't know where my PowerPoint went. That's not good. All right, sorry. Do you see that? You don't need to see that. I'll stop sharing. It's very simple. Why values are so important, how to identify your values easily, and how to utilize your values once you've identified them. And so we're first going to talk about why values are important. So when I was a new coach, I actually joined a business partnership. And I was going through coach training at the time, and I was just learning about my values. And I didn't know why I was so miserable. And when I identified the values of mine that were like stepped on, then I realized that I needed to get out of this situation. And really, I felt sick to my stomach, actually. I think when your values are stepped on, you get a feeling like, for me, either it's in my stomach or my shoulders. My clients tell me that the throat, gets tight, or their head kind of gets a little, tight. So in our bodies, we actually know and get information before our client, before our heads register it. So I realized that what was being stepped on, it was with two other women, and we were doing this online program for women entrepreneurs. And the values that was stepped on was like value my opinion, honoring my creative independent entrepreneur value, listening and getting, collaboration value was being stepped on, because the one woman took the major role and was trying to make all the decisions. So I knew I needed to get out of this situation because I was so aware of my values and which ones were not working for me. So that is a real sign for you about whether you're in the right situation or you're not. And I knew I needed to follow my own goals, and that I needed to, go in my own path. So I know my values. I can describe them. I know which ones are my key relationship values, and I know which ones are stepped on when it happens. And when they are, then I have a decision to make. And how do I want to move forward with this person? And it really affects everything in life. And that's why I'm so passionate about this work. And so from my work relationships to my marriage, to my relationship with my son and I still have my mother, and my relationship with my clients. So we're going to do our first breakout session, and it'll be 2 in a room. And I want you to share with your partner, or if you're listening to this on Facebook Live, maybe you'll just journal and you'll write it out for yourself. An experience where your values were stepped on and how it upset you. And try to identify which values were misaligned. Exactly. And so just notice, that there was a difference in goals and also values. Exactly. So I've worked with several coaches before I became a coach, and I've gone through coach training, for my CEUs and everything else like that. And when I worked with my coaches, I was given a sheet of paper with 100 words, and they told me to pick out my top 10 values. And I looked at this page and my eyes glazed over. I didn't know how to choose. So, my eyes hovered over a word like integrity. And that's I should have this one, I thought to myself.
Right.
But is it really true? Is that one of my top values for me? So I was struggling with this method to identify my values. And after my training with Coach Training Institute, now the Coactive, we taught a process that's proven itself time and time again. And it really has been very transformational in my life. So, you know, one of the things, there's a series of questions, and we actually pull out the values, and we also describe them. So the next exercise, and if you want to put me and Sue in the same room together, that's fine. You know, we're going to talk about, think about who your best friend and why they're your best friend, and what values do you share.
Okay.
So that's the next breakout. So, well, Sue shared a value, and, you know, so we actually went a little deeper, right? When you first talked about it, we talked about it, and then we kind of try to get a description of it. So, I don't know if you want to share anything about the experience.
No, I mean, just that it's a good reminder, and for me to think in those terms, because yes, I do the values exercise with clients, and I ask questions now and dig down, and we get to what maybe the top 6 or 7 values, but it's an exercise and it's done. And at that point, if I'm not careful, I can step away from that process. So that's kind of my takeaway from this, really, which is that it's a good, a good thing to keep in mind, and because it's underpinning so many things that are going on, basically.
I'm always listening for values. I'm always trying to see, you know, is this a value? And so, you know, we connect through values. So I just, you know, I also want to talk about the experience of talking to me in the room. You know, how did you feel about the connection, really?
I suppose because you were sharing your value, it gave me an idea of the kind of person that maybe you are, and whether I felt that we could be on the same wavelength with kind of, you know, having a few seconds in a room together kind of thing. So I suppose in that respect, I felt like it was useful because I got to know you a little bit better.
So really, we do connect through values, and it can happen really quickly. So, you know, I try to, when I do values work, you know, and my clients, and teaching them how to utilize values, you know, and they're trying to meet people. So from that standpoint, instead of talking about mundane things like, what do you do for a living? I have them ask, well, what do you like best about what you do, or what's most important about what you do? Because that gets to values, and that's what builds the connection.
Yeah.
So the other piece I want to say is I try to describe the value. I just don't stop at one word. And so, like, I use an example of my independence value, and I'm sure many of us here and listening here have an independence value. But you know, if I asked you to put how you would describe your independence value, I'm sure it would look different than how I describe my independence, or would be a different version, because I have more than one independence value. So, you know, I don't know if you want to put in the chat, or, you know, I mean, how you would want to describe, any of you listening on Facebook Live, you may want to put down, you know, what is your independence value? So how would you describe your independence value, Sue?
I would describe it as being confident to know my own mind.
Okay.
That's more than one
And
word.
I would describe it completely differently, because as I've just put in the chat box, I would be saying it's about financial freedom, which is a value, gives me my independence. So that's an example of what you're saying. It's different for everybody.
Yeah.
Well, and I define my value as an independent creative entrepreneur. And I think I expressed to Dawn before, it's about my work. It's being free to work as I see fit. Create my coaching programs, the Motivated to Marry Dating Secrets, write my book, Get It Right This Time, how to find, keep your ideal romantic partner, run my workshops, and I'm in continual creative mode. So, and I also own over 300 domain names. It's kind of like real estate for me. I had a business. Yeah, you wanted something unique about me. My business coach,
that was it, Sue.
My business coach guru once told me, if you think it, buy it, because it's like the wild, wild west. You got to get, and I actually sold a domain name for quite a lot of money. So I also have the financial independence value, to be self-sufficient and not depend on anyone for my income or money. I'm sure many of you, like Dawn's expressed, have that one too. So you may not be there. I'm not there. You just know you can have a value and it may not be fully realized yet. It can still be a goal. And when we talk about who we admire, a lot of times we admire things in people that we don't have yet, or we haven't achieved yet. And so what I want to say to you, it's important to really create a description of your value and what's meaningful for you and your clients. So if you're doing your own values work versus your clients' values work. And you can also use the wheel of life to help you. You can go, a lot of times I'll do a values exercise and I usually get around, well, I mean, I wanted to ask you this. Well, we'll do this first piece. What's important about money? What's important about your health? What's important about your work? What's important about your home or your physical space? You can ask values questions to get to those values as well. So how many values would you have identified per client? So maybe you want to put in the chat, or maybe since we have a small group here.
Yeah, I'm keeping an eye on Facebook. No questions are coming up.
Okay. So
I think what you've said about the description is absolutely key, Amy, because it's reminded me of something Brendan Bray said in Atlas of the Heart, I think is her book, when she was doing research on emotions, that we might have an interpretation of what independence means, and it's completely different to somebody else. So just doing a values elicitation exercise and asking, what are your values? And they say independence, that's just not good enough, which is the whole title of your masterclass, a deep dive. You've got to understand what that word independence means in order to be able to work with it and help the client. So I think that's a big differentiator between the standards value elicitations exercise versus what you're teaching us now, which is the deep dive. So thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. So Dawn, how many values do you get per client when you do values exercises?
Well, like you said, I think there's like 100 on the sheet, but usually I think they choose in between 6 and 12, and they really tend to struggle, other than family, love, money, the typical ones.
So I get about, I get about 24 and even 30 per client in my values clarification sessions. And it takes me around 2.5 hours to complete.
Wow. Okay.
So you can have more or less. It is an individual thing. I have some clients, I feel like I'm pulling, they're very introverted. And then they're not, they're very more. And then I have other people, like, it's just, here's another one, and here's another one, and here's another one. So actually, what we're going to do now is, now that you have your values described, we're going to take it one step further. We're going to go deeper. So I want to discuss how we're going to use them now that we have them out. Let's say you asked, these values questions. And I just want to let you know that I actually have a cheat sheet. And if you email me, at Coach Amy at motivatedtomarry.com. I'm happy to send you my cheat sheet. So you will have some of the questions and how to do this next step. So,
Can
so
you
once
can you
you
put
have,
that email? Can you put
I
that
will put
email
in,
address? Thank you.
yeah, I will put it in the chat. I will. So once you have your values, there's several ways, like I said, to work with it. So, how do you use values with your clients once you identify them? Maybe you want to share. So how do you use them? In what context do you use them?
For me, it's obviously starts with the exercise itself. Then I use a system that actually prioritizes them. I use the Curly Martin system, which Dawn is probably familiar with. So we actually prioritize them, send the customer how it's come out. You take it away, evaluate it, send them the results. Then it's a case of coming back to that later and going, so looking at this, looking at your prioritized values, you know, how does that tie in? And obviously it's different with each client. It depends what their coach is for, but tying that then back potentially to areas of stress and anxiety, looking for the mismatch, really, you know, where are the values misaligned with, it's not a science in some ways, you know, it's a, I can't kind of, not sure I can.
It's a process.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, so I mean, this is all good, and there's no right way and no wrong way, but you know, there's different ways, right? I mean, in coaching, we have different tools and we use them differently. And I mean, you can even say with your values, how fully am I living this value today, right? And you can even rate them if you wanted to. So, you know, like the financial independence value, you know, how fully am I living this value today? So, you know, there's a lot of play with values, you know, so. However, with my Motivated to Marry Dating Secrets program, I help my single clients identify the relationship values versus the personal values, so they can see if their needs are being aligned with the life partner. So that's the way I take it, that next step. So what do I do to classify them as either relationship or personal? And we can apply this. It's funny when I do this because they go, well, my partner, and I'm like, let's just first talk about you, you know, and we can be in, like we said, a relationship could be a sibling or a life partner or a work relationship or, you know, a parent, you know, like anything. So we're talking about all relationships. So what I do is like I said, I classify them relationship versus personal. So once you have your values that are identified and described, okay, I ask, is this a personal value or is this a relationship value? And do you need to share this value with a coworker, a friend, a family member, or a life partner? Now, some of them, like when I get the companionship value out, when I do my values clarification, you know, that of course is for a romantic, usually a romantic partner. So usually, it could be for a friend or something like that. So you can ask this question of, you know, do I need to share this value with my life partner or best friend or work colleague? Do I need to share, you know, or does my client need to share this value with the people in their lives? And if you say yes, then it's a relationship value. And I mark it with an R, unless the name is Renee. So we figure something out. Yeah. If it's a no, then we may mark it as a personal value. And I usually use their initials. And so, but the thing is, with your personal values, they're still important in a relationship. So you just have to understand that your personal values need to be supported, respected, and appreciated by those who are closest to you. Okay. So for instance, my husband is an IT guy. He does not have the creative, independent entrepreneur value. Okay. And he likes his steady work and he likes it assigned and he wants to be able to say goodbye at 5:30, which is nice. Work-life balance. But when I was dating, I had an issue because a lot of the men I was dating felt my self-employment was an inconvenience. And I had another business when I actually had a women's clothing store. And they were not supportive of my work. They were being a little bit more self-oriented. And you know,
So
like
polite, Amy.
huh?
You're so
What's that?
polite. You're so
Yeah,
polite.
I am polite. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, because they were like, okay, I want somebody to be there for me and have dinner on the table or whatever, or they needed a trophy wife to be there to support their career, which is fine. It's just, I'm not their cup of tea. So, you know, you could be attracted to somebody and you're not really cut out to be. And that was my first husband. I really should not have married my first husband. So, because he needed a different kind of woman in his life. But we met young and didn't really know what we needed. So, you know, that's when the chemistry takes over and you know, you don't think about the future. So that's another little soapbox I can get on. I think every 20-something-year-old needs a life coach, but that's besides the point. Now that you found some values today, can you identify them as a personal relationship value? Okay, so that's like the self exercise. So if you want to maybe tell me about a value that you've classified, and I'm happy to help you if you're not sure if a value is a relationship value or a personal value. Is there one that you can think of that you are not sure, that you want some further clarification?
I think to hear others is obviously a relationship one, and to be heard is also a relationship. But actually, the biggest, most important relationship we have with ourselves. So it's our boundaries, that we have. So negative self-talk, we don't want to hear that. We wouldn't let other people speak to us like that. So I think we need to also go down that route so that we protect ourselves from negative self-talk. When I say the boundary is to be heard and to hear, I don't necessarily want to hear the mean sister on my shoulder, the gremlin, call it what you will, criticizing me. So
right, and that speaks to our values. Actually, gremlin stuff, okay, the negative stuff is an anti-value. So and we have to look at it. Usually when we get closer to fulfillment, when we get closer to what we want, the gremlins can get pretty loud if we're not careful. And so acknowledging those gremlins, understanding they're there, and then deciding, and that's a whole nother talk, okay? How to manage your gremlins, and there's gremlin work and stuff. But from a value standpoint, so what I'm hearing is feeling heard is important to you, right? And that's definitely a relationship value, because could you be in relationship with someone who didn't listen and hear you? And just like when we talked before, you were talking about the collaboration, teamwork, let's, or listen or value my opinion. Wasn't it with that guy you were talking about? Like, he didn't value your opinion.
Yeah,
well, that's
absolutely.
Clearly a relationship value. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but there's sometimes a lot of our work, some of our work values and some of our other values, I have clients that come up with things like love of music or love of travel, love of music. And it would be nice if their partner would share that value. But they can share it with other people in their lives. And so, but you just want somebody who may say, okay, well, maybe I'm not as into music as you are, but I'm willing to go along and try that. Maybe that's the value, is willing to try things, value.
Now, picking something like music, Amy, is that a value? Because that sometimes clients don't understand what the values are. Or would you say creativity is the value? Music forms part of that, because you can't have music as a value, can you?
So it usually comes out as a joy of music. They love being with music. They love
Yeah.
hearing it, or they love to dance to it. It's that thing that comes up is like, I love music. I love to be around music. I love to be, and so then I usually call it the joy of music, or the love of music, or whatever, how they want to express it. Or creativity. It can be a creativity value. So that's why we have to say, if they're creating music, then there is a lot of times there are creation values, whether they're artistic, whether it's like handicrafts or painting or something else. So there can be a value around that. So having a good grasp on your relationship values matters, because it's knowing how to help them make important decisions about certain relationships in their lives. Understand the differences within your family of origin. You'll discover why your close friends are your friends. And if you're looking for a love in your life, you'll more easily recognize your life partner when they show up. And so I feel, just like you kind of do the priorities thing, I find we have themes in our lives. And a couple of these values show up time and time again. And so it's funny, once I have my values list for my clients, once I start hearing the same values showing up, I take that yellow highlighter and I highlight it. I say they like bubble up to the surface. And those are the ones I really pay attention to, and are the ones that I keep wanting my clients to pay attention to. And when they don't, they go down the wrong path. And so they need to keep these in mind when they're forming new relationships or evaluating existing ones. And so a lot of times people come to me and they've had a failed relationship. And what comes up are these values that have been not aligned or stepped on. So there's another way I utilize my values to make critical decisions in my life. I developed a list that I feel like keeps me safe, like especially for work relationships. And I call it Coach Amy's Best Working Relationships. And you can develop your own list to use and check with yourself. And so I had a lot of trouble hiring VAs at one time. They kept stepping on all my values of reliability and dependability and walking their talk and everything like that, and you can develop your own list of what it takes to work with you, whether it be in partnership or, on a project or any other way. And you can share with those and that you're thinking of hiring or for any other kind of interaction that you have. And again, if you want to email me, I'm happy to send you my copy in order to show you what mine looks like.
It's a good idea to do that exercise, because it's going to have a certain amount of transparency as to this is who I am, and save both of you time. I like that, Amy.
Except the only problem is they're the yes people and they want the business. And so, but they'll know where you stand. And I think it's, as coaches, we are taught to design up front. I try to design my relationships with my clients and with the people I work with and say, this is what I expect. This is what I need. And we are given that skill. Unfortunately, most people in life are not given that skill. So we have to, I like to, share it, and I like to model it. Actually, model it is a good word. So with my single clients looking to find true love, my values clarification coaching determines where they're going to meet people who share their values. And I infuse their values into their online profiles to help them attract the right people. And actually, a very high percentage of my clients meet their partners through online dating. I mean, especially now, the pandemic, definitely through the pandemic, but it always has been a very high percentage. And imagine infusing your values into a job posting or a work proposal or a statement of work. That way you're going to attract the right person, group, or opportunity to you. So I'd like to know, How has this today, this talk or this class changed the way that you've looked at values? And what will you want to do differently as a result of this class?
Well, it's no surprise to me that Sue's on this call and that I'm on this call because we're both working on values, organizational values, corporate values of the IAPC&M as we periodically revamp and work on the IAPC&M website. We want to make sure it's getting our values across and is user-friendly and appealing to a widest possible audience. So I'm not surprised to see you here, Sue. So I found this helpful in terms of thinking about our values as an organization. And I'm sure Sue will be thinking, how do I translate that? But we will have discussions afterwards. But thoughts,
yes,
and really about who do you want to attract to your organization is really
Yes.
important. Right.
Yeah.
You know, so if you
No,
are
I
working on
agree.
a website and getting those values out and putting them exactly on the
Yes,
website.
Absolutely. I think what excites me is that, and of course, it's completely logical what you've said, but because you've said it, I'm thinking about it, which is, feeding those values actively and consciously into the text, whether it's me doing stuff to build my own business or writing copy for the IAPC&M website, it's doing stuff with intent, including your values in that with intent makes so much sense. It's a really kind of exciting idea.
Do you help corporates identify their values as well as couples and singles, Amy? Is that something that you've done, the work that you do with individuals to corporates?
I work mostly with individuals. I am actually, as we're going to share in a few minutes, I'm doing a coach training myself. And so, again, whenever I'm actually revamping my website, my personal website right now, the Motivated to Marry website. And so having those values in there are very important to me. Except I hired a copywriter. You got to be careful. And so, being able to work with them and say, we need to say this, we need to say it this way, or share this. But I know the kind of person I love working with values personal growth, values the exploration process. They don't want a quick fix, or they do want a quick fix, but they also know they have to do the work and they have to take the journey. And so people who want a quick fix would not hire me. They would go to someone like a matchmaker. Or they go online, they don't understand why the online process is not working for them. And so, coaching, you have to have somebody who's open and aware and willing to be coached. And I think in my market, there's so many non-coaches, consultants putting themselves out there and doing this work that, I do a lot of I have a blog and I do a lot of writing about, why me over somebody else, and be careful who you choose as your coach. What are you looking for, and again, the kind of person knows that they're looking for somebody who's trained and educated, because there are people out there who are just, and we have that, in every walk of coaching.
Exactly. And as the authority on the accreditation board, we're very conscious of the fact that our primary role is to educate the public when they're making their choices, either to spend their hard-earned cash with a training provider or hiring an individual coach or mentor to do their due diligence, the same as they would when they're buying a holiday, and work with somebody who is properly trained, insured if their country offers insurance, who is accredited by an independent third party, who perhaps has done something else like written a book to show themselves as an expert in their field. So these are some of the differentiators that the public are increasingly looking for. But I was wondering if when you're doing values work with an individual, how different it would be if you were doing work with a corporate. But you know, maybe
I would use the
that's
same process. I would probably change some of the questions
okay.
a little bit, And
Yeah,
I'm happy to have a conversation, but in the corporate world, you know, it's really about what's important to you.
yes,
And getting that out, what's important about your people and what's important about your, you know, the work that you're doing, that you're putting out in the world, and you know, the big why, you know, because people are attracted to the why, and not the nitty gritties, right? I mean, that's from what I understand. And so, you know, I've done a lot of work to try to get people to understand their why, you know,
Mhm.
why are you doing this? Why are you here? How important is this to you? You know, because they are investing their hard work, earned money in this
Exactly.
situation. Yeah.
When you're not working with relationship clients and you're wearing your life coaching hat, how long would you spend on the values elicitation exercise? You said 2.5 hours, you
I
know.
do it with every
They,
client. Every client has to, that's the first thing I do. And
okay,
it
so they
does
have to
take
be
about
committed to go through that.
yeah, because that's my foundational piece to my coaching. And
Okay.
it infuses into everything, and infuses to figure out where these people, where my clients are going to go to meet people. Again, like I said, in the profile, it shows up. Just even recognizing somebody as being a good partner. So it really is infused in my whole coaching program, the Motivated to Marry Dating Secrets program. And it's something that I'll be, you know, sharing with my coaches in my Motivated to Marry relationship coach training program. Yeah, so the deep values work has had a credible meaning and really gives great direction to my clients, and especially when it comes to the relationships in their lives, and deciding which values matter most is a significant, you know, in a significant relationship has been really impactful. So why does some relationship work and some flop, right? It all comes down to that. You know, what we know is you need to have mutual goals. The goals need to align first. The core relationship values need to align. And then we, of course, need some share experiences and interests. You know, we do need to have some interests that are intersecting, but not all your interests. I mean, I know one couple, she says, all I do is eat and sleep with my husband. I mean, that's the one side of the spectrum. And then you have the other side where they're together or 24/7, but most of us are in somewhere in the middle. I know I'm more in the middle. One couple that confounds us is, and this is a United States reference, is James Carville and Mary Matlin. They're very opposed. One's Republican and one's Democrat. I wonder right now how different they are. Ideologically different political views, but similar core values. I'm sure that's the only reason that relationship's been able to sustain. And they obviously make their relationship work. So I hope that I've given you some insights in knowing how to use values a deeper way with your clients and your social network, and you know, all your life's relationships as well as your work relationships. If I can, I'd like to take just a few minutes to share, and I can try to share my, I think I got my screen to go again, share screen.
I think fundamentally from what you've said though, Amy, is we need to spend some quiet time with ourselves working out our own values. That's the starting point, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's important to know your values, because, you know, who do you want to attract as a client? Who do you want to be in relationship with? And who do you want to be working with? And I'm sure if you look at it, you do share values with the people that you're currently in. And you know when things work and when things don't work. Exactly. So it'd be definitely great, you know, to do this work, you know, and take yourself through this exercise, you know, or, you know, we can talk. So I am starting actually coach training starting in December. Actually, I have 2 people. I am doing a small group. We have a spot for one more. I am training and certifying life coaches. I've been doing this work for over 18 years. And I've been fortunate to have a full coaching business with over 24 consistent coach clients consistently for 3 years now. And you know, I really want to work with other people. And I've helped singles who are really want to find, I call them seriously searching for love, as not everybody wants marriage. It's just a brand. And people who want to find committed relationships. And I also work with couples who are not sure about the direction of the relationship. Usually I'm working with one person. This training is about helping one person. There's systems work that I've actually been trained in. And that's something that I may add to this later on, to help my clients work with couples if they want to work with couples. But they're very motivated to find love. That's the kind of people I work with. And it's very exciting when I hear a client who says they got engaged or they're really happy and they're moving on to the, you know, driving into the sunset. And my clients range from 30s into their 70s. I'm working with a lot of boomer clients right now, both men and women. And like I said, not all my clients are motivated to marry. Everybody wants committed relationships. That's why they come to me. And you know, coaching helps people be clear of their choices. Sometimes people come to me and they're not sure they want marriage or not, you know, so coaching is all about being clear of your choices and choosing and knowing what to choose best for yourself. So this is definitely, you know, a coaching program, right? And I have the opportunity to share this methodology. It's not approved yet through your organization, but I did approve it through ICF because I am an ICF coach. And so this is the Motivated to Marry Relationship Coach training. And so it's designed to mostly life coaches. I would also accept social workers and therapists to help clients find their true love. And they do get, it's actually 40 CCEUs. They just shifted. I don't know why they said the max is 40, but 40 is pretty good. I think that gets you pretty much over the hub with 1 or 2 meetings, right? So it's really exciting. And like I said, I've been working on this over 8 years and I'm finally launching. So ask yourself, how would you like to help your single clients find your forever life partner? Or would you like to add these skills to your coaching toolbox? I have one of my coaches, she's a career coach, and she says, all my clients are single and I don't know what to do with them. Like, I don't know how to help them. And so she wants a known, proven process to help them. And what would it be like to be part of a community of supportive relationship coaches? So I'm training these coaches and then creating an opportunity for us to learn and grow and stay connected. And what would it be like to feel fulfilled helping your clients greater clarity about their relationships and the relationships they're seeking. So yeah, so my coaches will be learning the entire deep values clarification process, and they'll dive deeper. And that is central to the Motivated to Marry methodology. So if this is something that speaks to you, or you know somebody who you can share this with, then I would appreciate it. And we're working with, I'll be training my clients, and then they'll be able to work with people. January and February are the time that people really put their energy into finding love. So my coaches will be ready to, we'll be working with people and helping them into the new year.
Okay. And do you have an affiliation program if we refer somebody to you, Amy?
So right now it's a pilot program, and we can talk. So I'm actually charging 1/3 of the normal rate because it is my pilot program. So unfortunately, I'm not able to do an affiliate at this time, but doesn't mean
afterwards
in the future. So once I get a couple of coaches under my belt, then definitely we can talk about that. And so anybody, definitely go to MTM, coach certification. I think that's it. Yeah, that should be it. And yeah, thank you for this opportunity.
welcome.
And as I mentioned, let's just stop share. If anybody wants, I did put in my my email address in the chat, but if you want to put it on the Facebook Live, if somebody wants the cheat sheet for today's session, I'm happy to send it to you, as well as a copy of Coach Amy's Best Working Relationships. And
I'll make sure everybody gets that. And I'll include it on the blog as well, which will come out next week with a recording of today's session.
Okay, thank you.
So,
and if there's any other questions,
I was just going to say, anything to do with the breakout rooms, personal sharing, that will be edited out, obviously. So it will just be primarily you. But thank you very much, Amy. Thank you for everybody that's listening and the questions. I think I haven't missed anything. So I do love the fact that you finally told me something really unique, and it's that you're a collector of domain names. You've got the most I've ever heard of. And I'm super glad you've sold one for a lot of money. That's very interesting. So thank you for that. And we will speak again, Amy. That was very interesting, and certainly given me food for thought, particularly with my work with Sue when we dive deeper into the corporate values. So I really appreciate you spending the time with us today. Thank you, Amy. And thank you, everybody, to listening.
Thank you.
Enjoy and stay safe.
You too.
Till next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.